gets drilled. Into the sky!
The Trenton Golden Hawks are buckling.
The hits have been bone-crunching, the saves out of this world, and the goals sublime. The Buckland Cup wrapped up this week. An OJHL champion was crowned. This is the OJ Today. Welcome, everybody. I'm Alex Bastiavansky. We will get you fully up to speed today on what went down in the championship series. Highlights from games 5 through 7 for you. Alex Bloomfield, the play-by-play man for the Pickering Panthers, who closely followed the championship final, will join me and help recap things. As well, he will stick around and we will have a Dudley Hewitt Cup preview for you, which launches next week in Trenton. But first, let's get to the bar down playoff game highlights. And game 5 of the championship final went on Saturday in Georgetown. Now, up to that point, it was home sweet home for both squads. The home team had won every single game so far. Trenton knew they would have to steal at least one victory on the road in Georgetown if they were going to repeat as champs, and Saturday was their day. OJ Highlights now brought to you by Bar Down, official clothing supplier to the OJHL.
The home team had won every game so far in the series, but Trenton had plans on changing that. Just 4:09 in on the power play, they strike first. Liam Morgan on the doorstep. The puck drops right to his feet, and the Hawks draw first blood as they lead 1-0. G-Town answers right back, though, on a power play of its own. Nice puck movement here. Jack Jacome to the wide-open Josh Dickinson. Ruth Daddy, and the home squad evens it up at 1 apiece. Just 45 seconds later, though, Trenton retakes the lead. Josh Astorino makes the initial stop. Nobody watches Jeremy Pilara, and the former Toronto Patriot risks it home to give the visitors a 2-1 advantage at the break. Trenton really had jump in this game. They pad their lead in the second. Astorino equal to the task the first time around again, but Chris Sekelic jumps on the rebound, and it's 3-1, and they were not slowing it down. 2.5 minutes later, Georgetown gets sloppy in its own end, and Trenton burns them. Lucas Brown pouncing on the miscue. Trenton up by 3, which was looking huge in this game. Late in the frame, though, a ray of hope for Georgetown. Andrew Courts makes the move past Chris Jansen. Josh Dickinson deposits out front, 4-2 Hawks, and it looked like the third frame was going to be a doozy, but Trenton puts it out of reach midway through the frame. The Raiders get caught puck watching. Nobody pays attention. The Jordan Chard, he snipes it home. That's the 5th of the game, a dominant performance. The Hawks get that all-important road victory, setting up a chance to clinch on home ice the following night. Rex Moe was a thorn in the side of the Raiders all game and said his team would be ready to go on Sunday.
We're going to be extremely focused. We're going to approach it just like any other game. We played hard here. We came out with a good mindset, and we're going to do the same tomorrow. It's a big win for the whole team. We went in the locker room. We started out. We wanted to come out here and get a good hard start, and we did. And we got the win. It was good.
Obviously a massive win for the Hawks, and as mentioned, that was just the second loss the entire season for Georgetown on home ice, and it set up a possible coronation the following evening in Trenton. Now, the town was all set to party. One more win and they would repeat as OJHL champions, but this time it was Georgetown stepping up as road warriors.
Teams can often be most dangerous with their backs against the wall. Such was the case with the Raiders on Sunday. Just 3:38 in, they quiet the raucous Trenton crowd. Andrew Court to Keegan Blasby, and the big Blas makes it 1-0 Raiders while the ice had barely dried, and Georgetown looked like a team on a mission. They were winning all the puck battles. Colin Rigney to Matt McJanet, and it's a big Matt attack. The former St. Thomas star adds to Trenton's woes as he makes it 2-0 for the Raiders. And it was a crazy first period. Jack Hughes, the 15-year-old wunderkind, gets sprung on the break. Jeremy Pilara grabs on, and the official wastes no time and calling the penalty shot. But on the one-on-one, 20-year-old Chris Jansen says, "Not today, youngster." Nice stop to keep the deficit at 2, and then soon after, Jance comes up massive on Keegan Blasby, sprawling to make the huge save. So 2-0 at the break. In the second, though, the Raiders would stretch their lead. The money man, Jake Payette, unleashes a bomb from the point. Another power play goal, 2 so far, and G-Town was feeling good with a 3-0 advantage. In the third, they would erase any hope of a Trenton comeback. Riding a 5-minute power play, Andrew Court picks up his 3rd assist on the day, feeding Jordan Crocker out front, and stunningly, it was 4-0 Georgetown. And then they complete the rout just 20 seconds later. Jack Jacome had one of his best games of the season, and that is saying a lot. He was everywhere on this night. Only 1 goal to show for it, but that was it. And he was a force. 5-zip Raiders. Georgetown shocks the Trenton faithful by spoiling the party on the road. A huge 5-0 win to force Game 7 Wednesday night back in Georgetown. Jake Payette was pumped for it, and he was proud of how his boys responded after a lackluster performance in Game 5.
Yeah, I think obviously losing at home in Game 5 was tough, and I think it was a bit of a wake-up call, that we're not going to be able to win every game at home, and we're going to need to take one on the road. And tonight, we just came out desperate and really worked hard and came out with a win. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, this is my 2nd year here, and haven't been to a Game 7 yet in 2 years, so it's exciting. I know it's new to a lot of the guys, but we'll be ready to go, and everyone's really excited to get going.
Welcome back to the OJ Today. So is there anything better in sports than Game 7? That's exactly what the Buckland Cup came down to this week. Now, Trenton had its chance to clinch on home ice on Sunday and flubbed it. So if they were going to repeat as OJHL champs, they would have to do it in hostile territory on the road in Georgetown. Now, regardless of who won, this was a final that would go down as one of the best Buckland Cups in league history, and it came to a dramatic conclusion on Wednesday.
It all came down to this. Over 1,000 fans on hand, plenty making the voyage down the 401 from Trenton to take it in. And it didn't start well for the Raiders. Early in the first, OJHL MVP Jack Jacome, this is him right there. Unfortunately, we can't see the hit since it was deep in the corner, but it went badly for Jack as he was forced to leave the game with an upper body injury. So the Raiders would have to score without their main man, which they did.
We'll have to see. But I think it's going to take a lot to get Jack to come out of this game. Brewer trying to keep it in, he does for Keegan Blasby. Throws the goal, rebound there, they score! Andrew Court puts it in the back of the net. Court is in session, 1-0 Raiders.
Court strikes at the 7:03 mark of the first, and the home crowd was pumped. Court paying the price, though, soon after. Austin Tonkovich stands him up with a gorgeous open ice hit. Court would get up slowly, though. Second frame, pretty crazy. Nick Latinovich tested time and time again by a wave of Trenton attacks. The Hawks outshooting Georgetown 13-7 in the period. Chris Jansen doing his best to keep his squad close. The shot trickles through his pads here. Luckily, though, Brandon Marinelli right behind him to give his keeper a helping hand. Latinovich was the star of the game for G-Town. Here he gets over to Rob Michael Silveri with a nice stop. Ryan Takamatsu had a golden chance to put this one away for the Raiders, but he hits a pop-up that goes over the glass. All he could do was have a little chuckle about that one. More from Latinovich. He was killing poor Silveri in this game. Stops him again and again. Michael just couldn't solve the G-Town keeper. Third frame. Would it be the last 20 minutes? Jansen once again lets a shot trickle past, but once again is D-man there to sweep it away. The Hawks were relentless down the stretch. Tons of pressure, but again, Latinovich there to deny every chance and keep the goose egg going. So with 2 seconds left, the Trenton net was empty, and the Hawks needed some magic or it was all over.
There's a face-off, it comes in. You can celebrate Georgetown. The Georgetown Raiders are Buckland Cup champions. Oh yeah, the red and black attack are number 1 in the OJHL.
It took 1 year for them to get there, Al, but what a great job by the Georgetown Raiders here. Look at them celebrate. And there's Jack Chacombe. He's coming out on the ice. What a great series. You can't take anything away from the Golden Hawks. 1-0 on Game 7.
Oh, we're gonna fix the table.
Good job, boys. Coming to you.
'17 Dudley Hewitt Cup. Being held from May.
You can't really describe it. I mean, just an unbelievable feeling from all the guys, the fans, just unbelievable.
You know, your MVP went down just a few minutes into the game. You guys had to really regroup and reset your mind on that. Just talk about that and the mindset after losing Jack in this game.
You know, he's our rock. He's our hardest working guy, and he's probably our best player in the league. So when he goes down, you know, we got to come together as a group, and we know he's been leading us all year, and we know he really, really wanted this one. So we stepped up and shut down defensively, and it feels good to get it for him and for the town of Georgetown.
Definitely wasn't always easy, even though our record might have showed otherwise. But it's, you know, it's unbelievable to do it with this group of guys too. It's you know, it's something special, and it's something you'll never ever forget.
Well, I mean, we'll enjoy it for a couple days, have a short memory, take it to everyone at the Dud, and then, you know, maybe the RBC. That's what our goal was, so let's hope we achieve it.
They're a great team. Like, we gotta give them credit. They worked hard every shift. So at the end of the day, you know, we were lucky. They were a good team, and we just got we came through in a big way. So couldn't be happier.
They've put everything into this for such a long time, and I'm just so happy with these kids. And there's not 25, 26 guys with all the injuries and guys stepping up, and I'm just so proud of them.
It's amazing. I mean, from the start of the year, we knew we had the team to do it, and I think we all came together for the same goal. And I mean, this is probably the hardest working team I've been on. We had the talent, and we took it all the way. I mean, there was no stopping us this year.
Trenton, hard-fought team. It's just an unbelievable series, and yeah, we got to do it next week. We got to be ready for next Tuesday come.
It means so much. I mean, I'm the only Georgetown boy on the team, so I mean, it probably means a little bit more to me on the location of it, but I mean, all the guys here are it's just unbelievable to win a championship with these guys.
An absolutely incredible series. Georgetown captures its first ever Buckland Cup title. What a performance by Trenton. They'll lick their wounds and be looking for revenge at the Dudley Hewitt Cup, which starts May 2nd. Welcome back to the OJ. Today I am so pleased to be joined now by, once again, Pickering Panthers play-by-play extraordinaire, Alex Bloomfield, who's been following the Buckland Cup very, very closely. Alex, welcome back to the show. So we have a new Buckland Cup champion as Georgetown comes through in dramatic fashion, dethroning the defending champion Trenton Golden Hawks. Just what an incredible series from start to finish that Georgetown played, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Georgetown shut down. I think a lot of people come into this series think Trenton, they think it's disposed of Coburg. What are they going to do to Georgetown? And Georgetown, now they shut them down in Game 6. I think it was obviously the crucial game in this series. And wow, did they ever erase some doubts in that Game 6 on the road and picking up that big victory.
You stole my next question, which was, I was going to say Game 6 was the pivotal game Trenton comes in and steals Game 5 in Georgetown. No small feat, of course, considering Georgetown had only lost twice all season on their own ice. Pardon me, that was the second loss they had all season on their home ice. Trenton comes in, beats Georgetown. I think a lot of people were expecting Trenton to capture the championship on their home ice in Game 6. Georgetown, I think, shocked even themselves as much as Trenton, not because they won that game, but in the fashion in which they did it. Spanking them 5-0 on their home ice, which nobody has done, beaten Trenton in that fashion on their home ice all year.
Yeah, it was the key to that game was the power play. 4 for 8 on the power play were the Georgetown Raiders in that game. And I think anytime you go 4 for 8, you're going to win a game. And that explosive offense, the top line, especially Jack Jacome and his gang there for the Georgetown Raiders, they lit up the Trenton Golden Hawks. Got a little bit too. Maybe they were sitting back, assuming they'd win this Game 6, and Georgetown played desperate and made it good at their opportunities, and Trenton got a little bit out of hand in that game, I think, discipline-wise.
Yeah, Alex, there was so little to choose from between these two teams in this series. Now, my opinion, and again, it's only my opinion, I'm sure maybe there will be a lot of people that disagree, but I thought this was probably the best Buckland Cup since going back to, I believe it was 2010, the one between Oakville and Kingston that went 7 games, and 4 of those games, I believe it was, going to overtime. But this series absolutely had it all. From start to finish, every game was so tight. There was really so little to choose from between these two teams, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. This was pretty much a coin toss from the start for these two. And they were both, you're looking at some of the best 2 OJHL teams that have made it this far as the nationally ranked teams. You're looking at teams that are incomparable to those the BC teams, the Alberta teams. And we've had that in the past with one team usually, not usually with both. And so, yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I think from the Oakville-Kingston perspective, 2010 is that being one of the best Buckland since that time.
It's amazing how 2 squads that only play each other once a year can get a hate-on for one another so fast the way these two teams did. From the opening puck drop in Game 1, never mind the skill aspect, which was tremendous, but these two teams really disliked each other, and this thing was an all-out war, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're looking at 2 pretty big teams as well, and veteran teams. And when those 2 teams come together, they know that your skill can take you so far, but in the playoff time, you got to put your nose to the grindstone. And these 2 teams, from Game 1, like you said, causing the trouble after the whistle in front of the net, and they're not going to let things pass by as they might in the regular season, in the sake of we're not going to see these guys for a while. They know that they had a grind in front of them, so they set that tone early, and that's why you had a rivalry burst out of nowhere.
A lot of scrums after the whistles, a lot of how you doings to the goalkeepers on both sides, as a matter of fact. One guy who was right in the middle of every scrum and scored some huge goals. Anthony Sorrentino, a late-season pickup from the Halifax Mooseheads of the QMJHL by the Hawks. Sorrentino was a game-changer for them, scoring some massive goals, including one in overtime in this series. Sorrentino, 6'4", 220 pounds, was just throwing his weight around the ice, and he was a real key pickup for them, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it all pretty much there. Sorrentino, it's not often you can pick up a guy of that size in this league in general. They're usually up at the next level if they have that kind of ability. And so, yeah, that's a huge pickup for Trenton. I think that really filled out some of their gaps on the forwards. They had a couple openings in their top 3 lines that made them even more incredible. And I think that was put them a step over against Coburg and Georgetown.
The Raiders, to their credit, pulling off something very difficult in that they were playing with 3 of their top 5 defensemen out. Now, the Raiders were playing with 3 15-year-olds in Vukojevic on defense, Brewer on defense, Jack Hughes, an absolute game changer who's headed to the U.S. development program fall, but they inserted 3 15-year-olds into their lineup against a veteran team, and they all acquitted themselves very well, didn't they?
Yeah, that's really, really tough to do. You often look at some of these teams when they're in the Final Four, and you look at their defense core and their goaltenders. They're usually 96s, maybe a couple 97s. The forwards where you often find the youth. So to do that at a young age defensively, it speaks to those 3 individuals. Jack Hughes, the one American on this Georgetown team, and they were able to hold their own against Trenton. Absolutely. give it 2 or 3 more years. Those guys able to stick around this league now, they may not be able to because they're just so good. They might move on to the next level. That speaks a lot to those 3 guys for sure.
All OHL high-end draft picks. Hughes is mentioned going the American route. Vukojevic as well. It was a second-round pick of the Kitchener Rangers. Would have definitely been a first if he wasn't committed to the University of Michigan. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to do a Dudley Hewitt Cup, preview, which is starting next week in Trenton. Alex, stick around. More OJ today coming back in just a moment.
There's a face-off, it comes in. You can celebrate Georgetown. The Georgetown Raiders are Buckland Cup champions. Oh yeah, the red and black attack are number 1 in the OJHL.
Welcome back to the OJ today as I continue on with guest Alex Bloomfield, the play-by-play man for the Pickering Panthers. Alex, welcome back. And we're going to do our Dudley Hewitt Cup preview now, of course, getting underway in Trenton from May 2nd through the 6th. The town has been buzzing about this ever since it was announced last year that they're going to be hosting this tremendous event. Let's take a look at some of the guys who've won the tournament over the last few years. Trenton, of course, the defending champs back in 2016. The Sioux Thunderbirds of the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League in 15. The Pats in 14. The Minnesota Wilderness. Now they are from the Superior International Junior Hockey League, who are also taking part. Thunderbirds in 2012, Wellington in 11, and Oakville back in 2010. So as we mentioned, there's those are the leagues taking part, the OJ, of course, Superior International Junior Hockey League, and the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League. We're going to start off with the representatives from the Northern League, the Powassan Voodoos. Alex, quite the name alone, actually. I really like that name, Voodoos.
Actually, it's done pretty well with the name. Maybe you have the Trenton Golden Hawks and you have the Powassan Voodoos, both of them related to the Royal Canadian Air Force. And
Absolutely.
The Voodoos, of course, the former Jet, and then the Golden Hawks, the old the aerobatic team. So, it's good theme, I guess.
Little military battle between the two of them. It's a great name. And tell us a bit about Powassan. We'll get to the board in a second, but what can you tell us about the Northern representatives?
I think of the two, they're probably the more likely to compete in this tournament with the two big OJ teams. They have some prospects that have been drafted into the OHL. The NOJHL a little bit more established in that sense, but this team in particular, Parker Bowman had a great playoff run. You're looking at a defensive forward there mainly, but he came out of his own in the playoffs. He had more than a point per game there, and this team is not as deep as the two OJHL teams, I'd say, but. Coming down from the north, you never know. You never see these teams all year long. So if they put the right plan in place, they can pull out some victories.
Typically, it's the OJ teams are typically seen as the favorite, but as we've seen, those Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League teams definitely thrown a wrench into the proceedings quite a few times over the last few years. Looking at the board here on Powassan, they were 46-7-2-1, first place in the regular season. Lights out in the playoffs, 12-0, 3 4-game sweeps. Gary Mance, 24 points. Parker Bowman, Tyson Gilmore, the top 3 scorers, and Parker Bowman was named the playoff MVP for the league. Some OJ flavor in the league. Shane Beaulieu, who we'll get to in just a second, who played for Aurora and Mississauga. And in the playoffs, 65 goals scored and just 22 allowed for this team. And they finished up on number 9 in the last version of the national rankings for Canadian Junior A hockey. Beaulieu, a guy you remember calling for, I remember from the Chargers, was a pretty steady contributor for them, and he was a good pickup for the Voodoos, wasn't he?
Yeah, mid-season, 2016-17, he split up between the OJ and the NOJ, and he basically had a point per game between the two leagues. So yeah, definitely a big contributor. You don't see a whole lot of the GTA guys going up to the north anymore. You see one or two per team, but per se, there used to be more than that back when the NOJ was the dominant league in Ontario in the early 2000s and before that. So yeah, that's a big pickup for them out of the Whitby Wildcats organization. So yeah, definitely a local flavor for the Pickering Panthers crowd as well in the Durham region. And so yeah, good to see him down here.
We're going to move on to the Dryden Ice Dogs from the Superior League, and they are making the long journey down, nearly 2,000 kilometers from Dryden, Ontario. We welcome them with open arms, but I do hope they're flying. That is a long road trip. The Ice Dogs, what can you tell us about them, Alex?
Well, similar to the Powassan in the fact that they really didn't have much competition in the playoffs. They multiple sweeps, both of them, 2 for them and 3 for the other guys. So you haven't lost the game in the playoffs, and in the regular season they were basically untouched as well. You could argue that Trenton was untouched, but I think a lot of the wins there different. You look at the scores in the final, even for Dryden, 8-2, 7-3 in game 3 and 4 of that series. So it's really tough to judge when you don't have that competition going up them. Day after day after day. So, you know what? I can't really give you a whole lot of projection how they map up with Trenton and the other guys. We're going to find out in game 1.
We're rolling along here. We're running out of time. As you see, they were the first place regular season champions, 8-0 in the playoffs, as you mentioned. There you see the leading goal scorers for them, number 12 in the last national rankings. The Superior Junior A League won Dudley title to credit over the last 10 years. So they're likely going to be seen as underdogs coming into this, but you never know what they might be able to accomplish. One thing about the northern teams, they play tough. Over 1,100 minutes in penalties, you can expect that. Let's get to the schedule for the tournament as we take a look right now. You see Tuesday, May 2, Georgetown and Dryden, Trenton and Powassan, the primetime game. The game's on Wednesday, Georgetown taking on Trenton, that's the biggie. May 4th, Georgetown, Powassan, and Trenton and Dryden at night. And then the semis in the evening on May 5th and the championship game on May 6th. And it's going to be a dynamite tournament. I think most are expecting, and of course the northern teams would hate us to say this, most are expecting Trenton and Georgetown to meet up in the final. But you never know what could happen. I mean, we've seen some shockers in the past. And this Powassan team, from all that I've read and all that I've seen, looks to be an extremely powerful team. So it's going to be a tremendous tournament. Alex, thank you for coming on, giving us your expertise once again. And I'm sure I'm going to see you in Trenton catching some of the games.
Absolutely. And hey, watch out for Tyson Gilmore. That's my last phrase, the son of Dougie's on the Powassan Voodoos.
Fantastic. Thanks for pointing that out, actually. I missed that one. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for being on again, and we'll chat with you next time. And that's going to wrap things up for this week. Don't forget, how could you? The Dudley Hewitt Cup kicks off this week, May 2nd in Trenton. For all your Dudley information, home base is ojhl.ca. On Twitter, you can find it at OJHL Official, and on Facebook at facebook.com/OJHL Official. Thank you so much for watching, folks. We will see you next week.